like you owe them something in your family. You owe them something. There's one family, and it's a spiritual family.
It's
and
us.
This earthly family is... They're no more your family in any special sense than any stranger in any other part of the world. And it's a trick of the mind, and it's a trick of the devil to have you subjected to torment if you're in one of those situations where you feel guilty because you feel like you owe your tormentor.
When I was 21, I had the choice to try to have a relationship with my family because I'd been estranged, because I'd been put in a psychiatric institution by them. In the Midwest by them. And then I thought, okay, and the conditions of my getting out were, here was the number one condition. There were no rituals going on back then, were there? No, sir, there weren't. Okay, you may go out and we'll let you have off-ground privileges. You can go join a band and play drums as long as you come back here and report in and check out and report back in. Okay, yes, there were no rituals going on. There was no Satanism. Okay, then you're free to go. Was there Satanism? Yes. Oh, well, you're going to stay here forever then. Until it was just exactly like out of 1984 with me. And the funny thing is, all these doctors were like out of the military. They were like ex-army. They were all military doctors. And one, I remember one guy was just a total Nazi. He was like a total Operation Paperclip guy. You'd think and so at 21, I felt like, okay, I was living in the Midwest, and I was out of there and playing in bands. But I didn't know who I was. I was completely brainwashed. Didn't know who I was.
This wasn't in L.A.?
No, this was in
LA?
This was in Kansas. And I was playing in these bands, and but I had to go back to LA to find out what happened. So I decided to have a relationship with them. But see, it was profitable, Brother Thomas, because it enabled me to find out, because I didn't know what happened. I had forgotten what happened, or I couldn't accept what happened. I just couldn't accept it. Could not accept it, all the murders and all the rituals and all the perverted sex. I couldn't believe it. You know what I mean? I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that's... And my resistance to that was why I wound up having such a hard fate, but of course I couldn't. The only way they could have gotten me to go along with it, I suppose, would be, well, they couldn't, so they tried to kill me. Then they blame me, and then they say, well, you need to go see a doctor because you're messed up. You're having hallucinations that we're trying to kill you. I mean, that's ridiculous. And so it's been this long journey over all these years, 30 years or so since then, more 35 years, to find out, to be able to accept it was the only way I could actually get a healing from it. My daughter really helped me to see that on this. And then finally I saw it and I said, enough, divorce. I'm not, and then the Lord taught me. He said, where you were born, the circumstances of your birth wasn't so that you'd be born there. It was just a womb so that you could come into the world, so that you could do what I have for you to do. It's got nothing to do with them. They are not your family. They don't love you. They're never going to love you. You were born there because that's the only way you could have come in at that time, and you had to have that. It's almost mathematics. I was born in the opposite womb of what I actually was or what I am. And there's some kind of a thing there that God does with having us born into the exact opposite of what we are. It may be that we couldn't even come into the world unless there was an opposing womb who was opposite. And then you have to totally rely on the Lord to get out of that situation. And I've been basically traumatized for 54 years. I've been traumatized for 54 years. And usually people die, so they didn't figure I would live to tell. Live to tell what happened. I mean, I'm making it my interview, and you're interviewing me, so I'm sorry.
No, it's interesting. It's important. I can see real strongly right now. Someone's listening now that needs to hear this. Someone is now in one of these situations, maybe more than one person, but someone needs to hear this right now, and it's time to break it off. I'm just telling them right now.
Yeah, break
if
it
you're
off.
listening, and this is applying. Yeah, this is meant for you. It's time to stop subjecting yourself to the torment and the hatred. They won't be satisfied until they've destroyed you. And
Exactly.
do not fall for the tricks, the bribes, because what they do when they feel you pulling away and you start to make some decisions like that you're done with it, then suddenly they turn on the sweet machine, and a lot of times they have a financial tie with you, something maybe to help you out once in a while, and someone who's listening needs to hear this, that you have to break it off and trust God, not rely on them any longer, and God will take care of you. God will take you out of that. And
you don't do anything very much. I mean, it's like this. You may be tied into partnerships. There's partnerships that you're part of and whatnot. You can detach emotionally and spiritually from that, and just live your life honestly the way it is. And if you know what I mean, it's kind of like that's got nothing to do. If someone wants to send you money, fine. You know what I mean? But you can't be acting like, oh, I'm going to act a certain way to get it.
Exactly.
If you don't care whether they send it, whether they don't, whether they write you out, like in my case, it's like I can't worry whether I'm written out of a will or not, and all that kind of crap. You just can't think about that. You got to go, okay, I'm going to live my life and I'm going to say the truth, which of course got me thrown out of everything, got me thrown out of, the family and everything else. And if you're a black sheep, as another brother was saying, if you're a black sheep are marked for death. That's what black sheep means. It means you're marked for death. It means it's okay to sacrifice this one, folks. This is a black sheep. That's how they think. Mm-hmm. They think it's fun. Actually, they're so sick. They think
they live off of it. They
enjoy
that's how they survive. That's the energy that they live off of, and they live off the torment and tormenting you. And you need to not provide yourself for their pleasure.
But yeah, they come around as soon as you reject them. They start coming around.
Oh yeah, and it's supernatural. You'll get a phone call out of the blue. When you'll make a decision at your home one morning, and then the phone will ring. That's where you start recognizing the supernatural thing that's going on, and accept that it is supernatural. Yeah, they're being alerted by the demonic telecommunication network. That's a cool phrase.
And with my case, it's something totally unrelated. Someone totally unrelated contacted me out of the blue. Hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
It's like, but they were connected to that. And he goes, well, here's my number and here's my, why don't you give me a call? I've been thinking about you, blah, blah, blah. But what they're really doing is acting on the demand. In other words, someone else that, not the one you broke away from, but somebody else then takes their place, and then they get in contact with you, and then the whole game begins again.
Yeah, you've got to learn how to ignore the physical face, the physical person in front of you, and recognize there's usually a specific demon or a group of demons that are tasked on you, and they will operate through different people at different times. So once you start recognizing the demon that's chasing you around, that's got your number, then you can see it popping up in all kinds of different people, and it'll pop up right in your household. It'll pop up in one of your children or a spouse if they're available. And once you start seeing things on that level, then you see what's going on, and it's much easier to protect yourself and to be aware of what's really happening and skip the physical.
It's like with
identification.
With a psychopath, if you have a psychopath in your life, what they say is, these are just like psychopaths, a little bit different though, because it's not them. The reptile seems like a psychopath to us because they're cold-blooded, they have no empathy, they have a hierarchical consciousnit's, they do what they're told, they take their place. That's reptilian kind of programming. And so it's you could call it a psychopath, but in a psychopath, what they say is this, and this is all over the internet now. A lot of this has gone viral. What to do when you have a psychopath in your life? And here's the answer: you have to cut all ties. Period.
Yep.
If you want to live, if you want to survive. Otherwise,
because they won't quit till you're utterly destroyed.
Right.
In every respect, they'll destroy you financially, spiritually. They'll destroy your family, your job, everything.
I know a guy now that they've taken his kids, and there are corrupt lawyers and the corrupt judges, and he has to keep going back to deal with his kids. And he keeps surviving. He keeps getting those kids back, but he keeps relying on God to win in court, not mano a mano.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it's a real mess now. But this is what I want to ask you. Don't you think that? Remember, you're the one that had the Rising of the Lambs prophecy,
Mm-hmm.
and isn't there more strength now? I mean, don't you hear it in my voice?
Absolutely. No, right on. No, it's happening right now. It's completely happening. We're in the midst of the inaugural phase. I mean, it's been going on for a while, but it's gaining steam. And I mean, within the last weeks, months, just recently, and I think I've talked to some people who can see, people who spontaneously have been a channel for the Holy Spirit to testify to this phenomenon, and they've described it as a wave and riding a wave, the crest of a wave, and the imagery is there's this chaos and morass in the sea, this when everyone else is crashing, people that have been taken care of by the system and by the beast and have relied on that, they start falling apart. And this is what has been said, and I've said it, and you've said it, that it's happening now. And as they crash down, this rising of the lambs is an opposite. It's as they go down, the lambs go up, and that's just using some metaphors, but it's happening now, and I believe this is the whole point, is what we're about to go into over this, especially this next year and thereafter. That this is where these miracles are they're happening now. I'm seeing them and experiencing them. I can hear it in your voice. You've got a whole different